Hello, I'm Scott Hogue. I help people just like you, people from all walks of life, to make extraordinary changes in their lives so that they can live extraordinary lives. You see, that's how it works. By making extraordinary changes in your life, you can live an extraordinary life. Maybe the life of only in your dreams. But that's what I do. And I'm here today because that I made a New Year's resolution that involves you, if you want to be part of it. I made a resolution that this year, in 2014, that I would give away more material and I would reach out to more people to help more people make positive, dramatic life changes than I have in my entire career put together. And I'm very serious about that, and it's a tall order. And I found out how tall of an order it really is when that I started this whole project. It seems like that I may not have all of the rights to all of the videos I've done for different groups and organizations so that I could put them up for free on the internet. So that's why we're here in my home. And you may hear the cars go by and you may hear the dogs barking, but I'm telling you what, I know that here in my home I have a right, and I have all the rights to where that I can make this video to be able to put it up on the internet free for you. And that's what I'm doing here. Now, I don't have any recording events or seminars or anything that I could do video coming up because here I am at the first of the year. And I wanted to be with my family the first of the year and over the holidays. And then here now, this period of time, I've cleared off my calendar because I've got another book project I'm working on and this internet project and even this resolution. So here I am. And if you want to be part of this, maybe you'll watch this first video, the introduction, and then come back for more if that's something that interests you. Now, I find it is a true saying that people don't care how much you know until they know how much that you care. So I'm going to tell you why that I care. When I was 16 years old, my childhood sweetheart had a terrible car wreck, and she nearly died, and they didn't expect her to live, but she did, thankfully. And she was in traction for 6 weeks, and she was in the hospital for about 3 months. And during that time, very quickly, her mother ordered no visitors, asked the doctor to order no visitors, and it was an attempt to try to break us up. Now, nobody knew it. But when I was 13 years old, I proposed to her, and she accepted. And, of course, we realized at that time that I was too young to marry her, and she was too young, and we were both the same age. But we were making plans, and she said, well, the time's right, I'll marry you. Well, she went home from the hospital, and she called me one day, and I picked up the phone, and I was so shocked to hear her. And she said that Mother's gone back to work, and Dad's gone back to farming, and I'm here by myself, and I really can't take care of myself, and I've pretty much crawled to the phone, and you know what shape I'm in, and if you really are still interested, it's time if you want to marry me. And I said, you stay right there, I'll be right there. And I went and I got her, and I took her to the judge. And the judge kept us there for a while, and he waited, and he decided finally that I was telling the truth, that she was there by herself, and that she needed someone to take care of her. And he said that, well, I believe that if you weren't telling the truth, there'd be someone here by now looking for her, and that's obviously not the case. And I made a few phone calls, and he said, if you will get you 2 witnesses, you had to have 2 witnesses, we'll have a wedding. And so I went out in the hall, and the first person I saw was the county, was the sheriff, the county sheriff. And I saw him, and I said, I'd like to get married, I need a witness. And he kind of laughed about it, and he said, have you got a woman to stand up for the bride? And I said, no. He said, well, the county treasurer, she's down here getting coffee, and he said, give us a few minutes. So the sheriff was the best man, and the county treasurer was the bridesmaid, and we got married, and she lived for 14 years. Well, I didn't know a lot when I was 16 years old. I didn't know that there are 3 steps to wealth, and that's what this is about. I teach the 3 steps to wealth. I didn't know there were 3 steps to wealth. I didn't know there were 3 secrets to the 3 steps to wealth. I didn't know that there were 4 money-making strategies. And, you know, one of those is relatively modern, even though it's been around for a while, I suppose, in different ways. Only now in modern society do people here now in civilization have pretty much wide access to that 4th strategy. I didn't know there was books that you could read, and if you understood these books, they would put money in your pocket. I didn't know that. The main thing I really didn't know that I wished I had known or had been prepared for was that it was against the law for me to have a job when I was 16 years old, pretty much. I couldn't work around equipment. That was against the law. Well, A meat slicer is equipment. I couldn't work in a deli. I couldn't be around beer, alcohol, or tobacco. I couldn't work at a grocery store. I couldn't work at a country store. At 16, I was too young to legally pump gasoline, so I couldn't work at a gas station. There were a few places that theoretically I could have worked, but being underage, I would have had a work permit, a lot of paperwork to be filled out, and even though I wasn't going to school then, I liked a half credit. This is another foul up. I liked a half credit graduating, and then the schools merged together. The county and the city school merged, and I couldn't graduate. They would not allow early graduation, so there I was stuck with that. Later I took the GED, and I've had quite a bit of education and done quite a bit of study. 22 years of continuing education since then, and then a lot of study on my own. But anyway, there I was. I couldn't work, and I had a hard time. When we first had a home, I had a place that we lived. We didn't have running water. We had a barrel that caught rainwater. We had to bring water from our family, friends and family at town. My first kitchen table was a wooden spool that telephone wire had come on. We just threw it over on its side with a round part. And then we had it on a couple of concrete blocks to raise it up to make it table height. And then I had a sheet. We threw a sheet over it. And I was so poor that it wasn't my wooden spool. I had to borrow it, and a sheet too. It wasn't my sheet. I had to borrow that. When I moved into another place, when we were there, with the help of my grandfather, we took a wheel rim, a metal wheel rim, put a barrel on it, bolted it to it, and made a sort of a wood-burning stove, only I didn't have any wood, and I didn't have any way to cut any wood. And fortunately, there was not a law against me going and getting people's trash, gathering up their newspapers and boxes and just general trash, anything that would burn, and bring it home and burn it. And that's kept us from freezing to death. And I could go on and tell you about, there was a time that she began to drive again for a while after she got better, and we'd ask each other, is it a fresh empty in the gas tank or is it a stale empty? We'd be down to the last dollar. And if you had a fresh empty, you could go to town, you could come back, and maybe twice, and roll into the little country store there where they sold gas. But if it was a fresh empty, if it's stale though, you better put the dollar in the gas tank, because you'd be stuck somewhere if you didn't. And then here would be time to swap the last dollar, because we literally would swap it back and forth. And it'd be like, I spent the last dollar. And the other one, we kind of half joking, we'd say, you spent the last dollar? I can't believe you spent the last dollar. But, you would be caught. And we had a hard time, very difficult time. I would take her to the doctor, or maybe to a drugstore, a pharmacy, to get her medicine, and I'd have my last dollar. That would literally be it. Because when you get down to your last dollar, friends, I'm telling you, you have a little bit of respect for that dollar, and you hang on to it if you can. And they would tell me, well, you can't see the doctor, or you can't have your prescription refilled until you make a payment. And I would get my billfold out, and I'd bring out the last dollar. I said, well, here's my last dollar. I can pay that. And it never failed to work. It never failed. And it wasn't a trick. It would be my last dollar. But sometimes they'd take it. They'd say, thank you, that's a payment, or take it, write it down, grumble. I remember one time that a woman took my last dollar, and she went away, and then she came back, and she gave it back, and she said, we've worked it out. And just for the record, after she passed away, I paid it all off. I paid every penny. No one lost a penny loaning me money on Teresa, right down to the tombstone and the marble vases for the flowers and all like that. I paid it all off. But I'm telling you what now, I had a hard time in the early days, and I care about this. I wouldn't wish what I went through on my worst enemy. I wouldn't. You may not know what it's like to sit in a hard wooden chair in a cold room and hold an electric bill, paper electric bill, in your hand, and hold it there and worry about how you're going to pay that, so that they won't cut the lights off and the heat off on your sick wife and children, until you sweat that through in a cold room. You sweat that until that piece of paper is wet. But I do. You may not know what it's like to lose your job, how quick you can do that, and then turn around and be realizing how quick it would take, how short a time it would be from the time you lost your job till you be hungry and trying to figure out how to eat. But I do. And so I've put together the 3 steps to wealth, and I went out to teach it. I taught it at different, and they don't endorse this. I mean, the restaurants don't, but I'll just tell you the names of them. They have no part in this, but I did meet people in McDonald's and Arby's and Wendy's and Hardee's and Panera Bread and Starbucks, and even on the park benches or the benches that they had at Walmart. I've met with people one-on-one and in groups at different places to teach them these 3 steps to wealth, and it was a tremendous failure at first. And it may be like a lot of the self-help programs maybe you've had, that we call them, I think, self-help because you've got to help yourself. The program's not. And these people learned these things. They did. They could quote the 3 steps to wealth. They could quote the 3 secrets. They knew the 4 money-making strategies, 6 cash flow strategies. You know, they knew the 4 books, and they had the study notes on these 4 books that made more millionaires and billionaires than all the other books put together. They knew all of these things that we were talking about, but it didn't make a change in their lives. And I had to go back and figure that out. Why is it not changing these people's lives? And I realized that it was most people don't know how to do what they know to do. Most people don't know how to do what they know to do. So, take my daughter, 6 years old. When she was 6 years old, she knew how to lose weight. She knew that you ate less and that you were more active. And that's the sum knowledge of mankind on losing weight, or at least it's all that matters. If you can't eat less and be more active, nothing else really matters. But the problem is even though it's the worst kept secret in history, and everybody knows that you eat less and you're more active, nobody knows how to do what they know to do. Not hardly anybody. So I had to go back and figure that out. And I took courses in psychology and even hypnotism. And I studied and worked with more and more people. And I came back out and I realized, now I've got it. Now I've got it. And so I started teaching that. And that's what I'll be teaching here in these courses for you. I'll be teaching the 3 steps to wealth. There's actually 3 steps to wealth. And really, let the cat out of the bag. There's about 3 steps to really anything. But yet there's 3 secrets to the 3 steps to wealth. And if you don't know the 3 secrets to the 3 steps to wealth, it's kind of like trying to tell someone how to drive a car. And you say, that's the steering wheel, and you turn it right and left, and that steers it. And there's the gear shift, that thing there. Put it in drive, it'll go forward. And on the right, there's the gas, and over there's the brake. Now you know how to drive a car. Well, technically, you do know how to drive a car, but you're probably not a very good driver, and I sure wouldn't want to ride with you, not very far, if that's all you knew. And that's what we're talking about. Now, there are 3 steps to wealth, but there's 3 secrets to this that enables you to put it into your life. And then I go on and I explain how we change. If you don't know how to change your life, then all this other information is useless. You see, one night I was going to teach one of these 3 steps to wealth classes at a fast food restaurant. And we call them hamburger joints. And so I realized, something dawned on me. I was going to teach more people more information that they wouldn't use. And that's what I was going to do. Really, when it came right down to it, I was going to teach more people more information that they wouldn't use. And I realized that because I realized that before I ever came along, they knew more about making money and managing money than they were doing to begin with. And all I was doing was teaching them more information that they wouldn't use. And so that was a revelation to me. I had to figure out how to help people to know how to do the things that they knew to do. And so I went back with half of the program, the first half of the program, all about change, how you change, how the mind works. I've got my dry erase board. We're going to be bringing that out in future classes to show you, to help you get a visualization, a picture of how your mind works. And we're going to divide it out and say, you know, here's how it works in general. You know, your eye is a structure, and vision is a function of the eye. Now, if you were to take your eye out and slice it and look at it under a microscope, you never find vision in an eye. The ear is a structure. It's a physical structure. And the function of the ear is hearing. But you can look all you want in the ear and you'll not find hearing. Well, the brain is a structure. And the brain has the mind as a function. And you can't put the mind on a slide, but the mind is a function. And you need to know, you have to have a visualization of that to be able to see how that works, to get something in the mind to help you study the mind. And then we'll talk about how change really works, why we do what we do, why we don't do the things we think we would want to do. We're going to talk about a goal-seeking mechanism, how to keep it from being hijacked. I want you to know that you have a goal-seeking mechanism, and it's really an emotional or feeling-seeking mechanism. And it really never fails. It just practically never, ever fails. The thing about it is it gets hijacked. And so here you are, you're wanting to lose weight. And maybe that's on a scale of 0 to 10. You've thought about it, and that's the equivalent of an 8 for you. That you're serious about it. You're ready to lose weight. You know, wear those better clothes, look better, have more energy, you know, play with the children, play with the grandchildren, whatever it is for you. And then later on, here comes a cheesecake, and you eat half a cheesecake or more. What happened? Did the goal-seeking mechanism fail? No, it got hijacked. Because if you don't keep these things in front of you, then your weight loss will drop from an 8. Your goal of a weight loss will drop from 8 maybe to a 7, a 6, a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1. And here comes a cheesecake, and it's a 7. And so now you've got an emotional or feeling-seeking mechanism. That's your goal-seeking mechanism, and it goes off and it sees this cheesecake, and it says, here we go. I'm looking for something that has the highest value or the highest number. And at that point in time, it does. I can show people how to keep their goal-seeking mechanism, or as we say, their feeling-seeking mechanism, from being hijacked. I can show, actually, I have a way to where that I can show people how to make something as high as a 20 on a scale of 0 to 10. And I'm not kidding about that. There's a way to do that. And not only that, I can help people like a balloon inflate that to where it gets bigger, just like we're blowing air into a balloon, go bigger and bigger and bigger until that's an inflated 20. And then when a 7 cheesecake comes along and you've got an inflated 20, the inflated 20 will roll right over it and flatten it, and the cheesecake won't fatten you. So there's so much that we have in the beginning of the program, half the program literally, that shows us how to get ourselves under control, how to set goals, real goals, not these things that we write on as wishes on a piece of paper and they never come true, but something that we really expect to come true, something that we can really approach and work on. And we've got a technique to make that automatic. You see, so much that happens in our life happens in our mind automatically. And when we put the automatic change in place, that program and change in place in our mind, change becomes automatic. And you don't have to be on guard, and you don't have to suffer. You don't have to worry, stress, and have your friends say, don't let me smoke, or don't let me overeat, or don't let me spend any money, or anything like that. And have your friends, I knew a man that he had people all over watching him, trying to get him to change. And I said, wouldn't it be so much easier to do this internally and carry it wherever you go? And so we did that. Then after that, I went back out and I taught that, and many places, many times, and then brought in the financial information. And now it's useful because now people know what to do. They know how to do it. They know how to do it. And so that's what I'm going to be doing in this series of videos. So there it is. That's the introduction, the 3 steps to wealth. There's 3 steps to wealth. I'm going to give you the 3 steps to wealth today. It's very simple. It's almost seemingly too simple, but like I said, there's secrets to it, and this is deeper than it is wide. It's only 3 steps wide, but it goes pretty deep. But we have ways of explaining it over and over again, different ways, to where that, and for example, a car. You don't have to know everything there is to know about a car to drive a car. No, you don't. You don't have to. You may have never seen a piston or a camshaft or a crankshaft bearing. You may not know a crankshaft bearing from being overbearing, but you can still drive a car if you know how to operate a car. And you don't have to understand all there is to this, as long as you get the big picture, kind of get a feeling for it, and then you just follow the directions. And the reason that I want people to get the big picture and the feeling for it, it gives enough explanation that people can have some confidence that this is not just a witch doctor out here making things up, but there's a reason for this. And we're going to talk about TOM. And TOM stands for Theory of Mind, T-O-M, TOM. And that will give you the big picture of this. And so people will at times say that they're overwhelmed. And I say, well, that's a good thing. And they say, well, what do you mean? I said, well, if you're overwhelmed, that means that we're getting so much information in that your current way of thinking, your current lifestyle, your current thoughts, beliefs, action, programs, that they're feeling a little overwhelmed. And we want to replace them. And by the law of displacement, we can replace limiting beliefs. You don't have to sit on a psychiatrist or psychologist's couch for years to figure out why you have a limiting belief or what is. You can displace them. Positive things will displace the negative. And we do that. So if you're interested in finding out the 3 steps to wealth, and of course, that's get the information. That's the first step. Then the second information is you study the information. And then the third step is you apply the information. Then come back here, and we're going to be covering that. And people say, well, what are the 3 secrets? Well, I'll tell you the 3 secrets here and let you think about that. You have to get the right information. It's not just any information, but you have to get the right information. We got 4 books that have made more millionaires and billionaires, the information in them, by their own testimony than all the other books in history. So we know what the information is. And then the second secret is that you have to study the information not until you know it, but you study this information until it changes you. That's the secret. You know, you can be a person that wants to fly. Say you want to fly an airplane. Well, I can give you a manual on how to fly an airplane. You can read that manual. You can have the information. You can study the manual. You can quote the manual, memorize it. I don't want to get in a plane with you, though. And the reason is because it hasn't changed you. The experiences, the programming, that's what changes you. And so that's why that we today have mentors that help us how to fly, learn how to fly. You don't just get in the plane and hope for the best. They did in the early days at a tremendous risk and loss of life. And now we don't do it that way. We know how. And we know how people become wealthy. And we've got that figured out. And so there's no reason for you to have to try to reinvent the wheel or go it on your own. I tried that a long time. And I'm telling you what, that's a lonely, hard road to go down. But I began to start looking at other people and start questioning people. I've stood in a bank and I've just wondered, years ago, decades ago, I stood there when I was having such a hard time. Where did the money come from? I can tell you where money comes from. I can tell you how money's made now. I can tell you where money's made. It's not the Federal Reserve or the printing press at the Treasury. That's not it. Where money is made for you. Where to put money in your pocket, where you make it. I can tell you how to make money and how that all works. But you've got to come back here and you've got to be serious about this. Not all that hard. The hard part is just being consistent. Come back again, study. Come back again, study. Take some notes. Think about it. Give it a try. Come back and be consistent. Just the consistent part. I'm not going to ask any tremendous effort from you, but I'm going to ask you to be consistent. And we have tricks that will even help you to do that. So that's it for today. Four ways to make money, 4 strategies that there are. That's only 4 money-making strategies in the world. And then there's 6 cash flow pathways. My grandfather knew 5. I found out there was a 6th one that he had never used. But there's 6 cash flow. I asked a man one time. I asked a lot of people, do you know the 4 money-making strategies? And I've never found anybody that said yes. I know that there's other people that know this, and just in my casual talks with people at the grocery store or the department store or at the gas station, do you know the 4 money-making strategies? I've never had anybody say yes. I asked this one man, I said, do you know the 4 money-making strategies? This one particular man. He said, no, I don't. What are they? And I told him. I said, now you seem to me to be an intelligent man, well-educated. Could I ask you how much education you have? He said, I have, and he counted it up in front of me, 12 years, of course, to get through high school. That's about what it takes most people to get through high school. And then he had a 4-year degree, and then he went on to get to count 20-some years this man had. I believe it was like 24, 26 years of education this man had, and he had never been taught anywhere the 4 money-making strategies. And, you'd be tempted to ask for your money back because it's important to know how to make money in this world. And it's something that they don't teach in school, and it's something that I certainly didn't know when I was 16, but thank God I know it now. And you will too if I've got my way about this. So come back if you're interested, and I'll join you then. Until then, be blessed.